Marco Antonio Rubio, lawyer and U.S. Senator from Florida. Marco Rubio was born in Miami, Florida in 1971. Graduating from the University of Florida in 1993, he continued on to earn his Juris Doctor from the University of Miami School of Law in 1996. Following school, Rubio began his career in politics. In 2000, at the age of 28, Rubio was elected to the Florida House of Representatives. After 4 full terms, he moved to the U.S. Senate in 2010. As a young politician, Rubio has garnered much respect and support for being a conservative Republican. In order to know if Rubio is truly conservative, let's examine his stance on international treaties and organizations, his involvement with the Council on Foreign Relations, as well as his stance on big government. To begin, we will look at his view on international treaties and organizations. Since 2013, Rubio has sat on the Senate Committee on Foreign Relations. This committee is generally responsible for overseeing and funding foreign aid programs. When considering Rubio's reputation, many would think having him sit on such a committee would be favorable to Americans. Some may recall, while campaigning for the Senate, he pledged to stand up to Washington's reckless spending. That was 2009. By 2012, when hearing his thoughts on foreign aid, one may question his real view. A good example is from a speech given at the establishment-driven Brookings Institution.
Foreign aid is a very cost-effective way, not only to export our values and our example, but to advance our security and our economic interests. And I disagree with voices in my own party who argue that we should not engage at all, who warn that we should heed the words of John Quincy Adams, not to go abroad in search of monsters to destroy.
Within that short statement, Rubio shows he favors a more neoconservative perspective. When talking about going abroad in search of monsters to destroy, he supports the idea that the United States should be the unchallenged superpower and the policeman of the world. At the beginning of his speech, when talking about using taxpayer dollars to force our values on other nations, Rubio is again pushing the neoconservative perspective. As a conservative, he should be supporting a republic, not the neoconservative goal of spreading democracy. This isn't the only time Rubio has supported these viewpoints. In 2013, when voting on an amendment that would have stopped the aid to Egypt, and in turn used the money to repair U.S. bridges and other critical national infrastructure, Rubio voted no. Obviously, Senator Rubio's stance on foreign aid does not match up with his pledge to stand up to Washington's reckless spending. Now that we have seen his stance on foreign aid, let's look at his view on free trade. We've already established that neocons are in favor of free trade, and according to Senator Rubio's own website, so is he. His voting record proves this. In 2011, Rubio voted in favor of an amendment to reinstitute Trade Promotion Authority, also known as Fast Track. This vote was significant because Rubio supported giving the president authority to negotiate trade deals instead of Congress. Simply put, Rubio gave power to one individual while limiting Congress's ability to do its rightful job. In 2011, Senator Rubio voted in favor of the United States-Korea Free Trade Agreement Implementation Act. By voting in favor of this agreement, Senator Rubio supported the creation of an agreement very much like NAFTA. If history repeats itself, it will only lead to larger trade deficits, continued job loss, and more. By looking at Rubio's voting record on foreign aid and free trade, we see his support of globalization, which is a characteristic of a neoconservative. Now that we have seen Rubio's view on the international level, let's look at his views on domestic issues. Shortly after taking his Senate seat in 2011, Senator Rubio voted against an amendment to the Defense Authorization Bill. This amendment was to prohibit the U.S. military from indefinitely detaining U.S. citizens when they have not been charged or given a trial. By voting no, Senator Rubio disregarded Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution, which basically states that the government cannot hold citizens indefinitely without showing just cause. This is not the only time Senator Rubio's vote has resulted in a direct attack on personal liberties. One liberty many take for granted is the right to privacy. When examining Rubio's view on privacy, you will once again see that he supports a more neoconservative view. In 2011, Rubio voted in favor of extending the Patriot Act and its roving wiretaps. Again in 2013, Rubio defended the National Security Agency and its unconstitutional spying on American citizens. His response after a briefing by intelligence agencies was, "Programs like this have great utility." Another good example was later that year when he stated on CNN, "Everyone spies on everybody. I mean, that's just a fact." Americans need to be concerned when our own politicians look at government spying as a fact of life. When did it become okay to spy on the American people? Furthermore, where in our Constitution does it give the federal government the power to do so? If Rubio is supporting legislation that intrudes on personal liberties, such as the right to privacy, what will be next? It has been proven that Rubio is not supporting the values of a true conservative. But this is not the only area of concern. Constituents need to be aware of who Rubio is surrounding himself with, as well as those who support him. Neoconservatives are known for being involved with the Council on Foreign Relations. Since Rubio is young in his political career, his ties to this organization are somewhat unknown. However, in 2010, while campaigning for Senate, Rubio received an endorsement from prominent CFR member and former Vice President Dick Cheney. He stated, "Marco is exactly the kind of strong conservative leader we need in Washington right now. Marco has proven we can trust him to stand strong in his principles regardless of poll numbers and protest." Cheney concluded, "I am proud to stand with Marco Rubio, and I urge all Florida Republicans, regardless of who you have been supporting, to unite behind him." This type of glowing endorsement from such a notable CFR member should make people wonder, what is it about Marco Rubio that Cheney likes so much? Perhaps Cheney realizes that Rubio is not the traditional conservative many think he is. Already in Rubio's career, there have been multiple instances where his actions have not supported his campaign promises that helped him win the trust of his state. We as constituents should be able to trust every elected official. This means their votes should support what they say they stand for, as well as what their constituents want. It is our job as Americans to know what our elected officials are supporting, who they are working with, and most importantly, how they are voting. There are a lot of things people do not know about their politicians. Many often rely on what others are telling them. In order to find out for yourself, you need to do your own research. This will take some effort on your part, however, it is easier today than ever before. Although there are many tools, the New American Magazine's The Freedom Index is a leader in providing you with up-to-date information. It gives you the ability to track your congressman's voting record along with the reasons as to why their votes were for or against the Constitution. As we become educated, we need to share that education with others. Find out how constitutional your politicians really are and then hold them accountable. Together, we can raise awareness and make a difference.